Hello and welcome back to Games Played Technically. My name is Adrian and I am your host, and today we're building a keyboard. That's right, there are things other than video games and I'm willing to try some things to keep my subscribers' attention. Seriously, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. If you don't like the video, that's okay. Hit the dislike button, but do me a favor and leave a comment letting me know what you'd like to see. And now on to the video. Excuse the unintentional unboxing ASMR, or I don't know, maybe you like it. The components for the Wooting 80HE came in 4 separate boxes: the logic board in a sandwich plate, the case, the switches, and the keycaps. I got the dark gray clear plastic case for nostalgia reasons, and the switches are the Wooting X TTC King Magnetic RGB switches. And overall, everything came well packaged. There were 7 screws to remove on the case. I had my iFixit kit ready, but keep in mind that your average size screwdrivers might not work. I think I used a size 0 Phillips head. This next part was tricky. Opening the case required a motion to unlatch the clips. That makes sense once you do it, but it's hard to make out in the how-to video from Wooting. Once you figure it out, it's simple enough though. The next step was connecting the USB-C daughter board on the case to the logic board, which involved connecting a cable, and that took a minute until I realized that the connector was upside down. There's a mark on it that should be facing away from you when you plug it in, which in my case required turning the whole connector around. The video doesn't make that clear, I just happened to notice it when I paused. Next, you put the case back on, leaving in the foam padding, and this part is done. This next part was also not entirely clear. The documentation in the video say you have to make sure that the switches are installed with the north side facing up. The north side being the one with the window for the LED, except my switches didn't really have a window like the examples showed. Fortunately, it was also indicated that the switch's branding should be on the opposite side. I was just about able to make it out and decided to go with that. Luckily, I was right, because there is a disclaimer saying that inserting the switches incorrectly can damage the logic board, and that Wooting takes no responsibility in such cases, so I was sweating it a little bit. Getting all the switches in after that was easy enough. Just lock in and make sure you're not inserting them incorrectly. Once they're all in, do a quick check to make sure that they're all securely fastened. I had a few that weren't all the way in. Just had to press them and make sure that they pop in the whole way. I got a full set of keycaps, figuring I could use the leftovers as accent pieces on my old Wooting. The new keyboard is an 80% keyboard, so I'm missing the number pad as well as the home and end keys. Probably some other keys, but I'm not actually missing those. Luckily, the utility that comes with the keyboard lets you remap keys, which I'll probably end up doing. I mean, the only time I've ever used the insert key was by accident. Either way, setting the keycaps is pretty straightforward, you just pop them on. Here's the final product with all the shiny lights. Next to my old 8-bit Do Famicom themed keyboard, you can see that we lose some keys, but it's a much smaller footprint with the Wooting, and also it's way quieter than the 8-bit Do. A worthy successor, even though I prefer full-size keyboards. Overall, the assembly process was really easy. If you can hold a screwdriver, you can definitely do this. In fact, the hardest part might be selecting compatible components, which Wooting took care of by guiding you through the process on their store page. I don't know if I like or hate the name of their software. Either way, it's feature-packed. Seriously, some of the stuff you can do solves for problems I hadn't even thought of, which leads me to the main cool thing about the Wooting keyboards. They provide analog input. What does that mean? Well, regular digital keyboards only provide an input of 1 or 0. In other words, a key is either pressed or it isn't. On the other hand, Wooting keyboards can provide continuous values on a keyboard press, sort of like the triggers or joysticks on a controller. That means you can partially press a key, if that makes sense. For example, you know how games like to make you walk and talk with an NPC, but your character is always a little faster than they are? On console, you just tilt the joystick less, but on keyboard, you're kind of stuck with the speed you got. With the Wooting, you can adjust your speed by just pressing the key less. Okay, that's kind of a niche scenario, but I'm sure pros could make use of being able to change their speed on the fly in games like Counter-Strike, Overwatch, or Marvel Rivals. I'm guessing. I'm not a pro. Additionally, and maybe more importantly, it also allows for other input types. You can assign up to 4 inputs on one key, which is determined by how far you press the key. That's something I definitely could have used in my Elite Dangerous days, and maybe I can use now in DaVinci Resolve. You can also toggle keys, set rapid mode, as well as something called Snappy Tappy. As I understand, Snappy Tappy or SOCD lets you set the priority between 2 press keys. There are no examples provided, so my example would be if you're strafing left and right. In most games, if you press A and D at the same time, your character stops since they're receiving input in opposite directions. With SOCD, you could have it recognize only the last input, such that it'll ignore the first input. That way you don't ever accidentally come to a full stop. You can also just set one key to always have priority, but I can't think of a scenario in which this would apply. Again, that may sound niche, but apparently it's a big enough deal that there's a disclaimer that says that you can get banned from certain games for using the feature. What I'm saying is that the utility gives you a lot of freedom to fine-tune your keyboard for a specific game. It's a good thing then that there are profiles you can save directly to the keyboard. First, this means that you can set up your keyboard for one game, then switch modes for another, or for general use. Secondly, because the profiles are saved to the keyboard, that means that you can plug it into another computer and it'll behave the same way without needing to download the utility and set it up all over again. Aside from that functionality, there's all of the RGB settings. You have a pretty high degree of control, and it even talks to the Razer Chroma API if that's your thing. I mean, I guess you need to have that level of detail at this price range, which brings me to my criticisms. Going in order, the physical setup was easy enough. I think that Wooting could go a bit further to clear up some of the sticking points for people like me who are new. Mainly, they should specify how the cable connects from the daughter board to the logic board, and they should include more language regarding the installation of switches, since it's something that could potentially damage your board. In that regard, I give them a 9 out of 10. Wait, no I don't. This isn't a review. Moving on to the physical hardware, I would say that the build quality on the 80HE is excellent. I can only compare it to my previous keyboards, but it stacks up with the 8-bit Do and the EVGA K20. It feels solid and the switches are nice. They're quieter, but they still have that sound quality that activates my neurons. Regarding the software, the utility is pretty well packed. It's got what you need, if you need it. And that's mainly the thing. Do you need this? Obviously not, but you could easily pay the same amount to build your own keyboard that doesn't have any of these software features. I mean, it was about $257, which for many people is an unfathomable amount to spend on a keyboard. So why did I get the Wooting DIY versus something else? I guess I can rationalize it because you get all the extra features that I might not even use. You see, the thing about those cool features is you have to learn how to use them. It's not a bad thing, but I'm not sure I have the mental bandwidth for all of them. I mean, I can't imagine adjusting my speed in the middle of an Overwatch match. I usually just slam the key in the direction I need to go, though that might just be a skill issue. Ultimately, you can get a good keyboard for way less money. There's really only one critical reason to get a mechanical keyboard, and that's to ensure that you get solid rollover. Cheap membrane boards may not register more than 2 or 3 key presses, which can cause problems when you're playing games. And if you can get a membrane keyboard with solid rollover for like $20, you may not even care that it feels like you're typing on oatmeal. I got what I was looking for out of the keyboard. I have more space to flail my mouse around, and typing doesn't sound like machine gun fire anymore. I had fun learning the different components while customizing my build. The actual building process was less involved than I thought/hoped it would be. I mean, I guess I could have lubed the stems, but that seems a step too far. Either way, I'm happy with it. I would have been happier if it had cost $100 less, but it's still a better value than some other keyboards, if you make use of that value. It's part of engaging with the hobby. I'll clack away on this keyboard for a while until I want something different, then I'll do it all over again. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Let me know if looking at PC equipment is your thing. I have a new case coming in, so I'm going to be transplanting some computers. I might record and upload that as well. It'll give me a chance to show off the mess that is my current rig and maybe do a better job on the new case. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.